Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast called Wave of Change by Tony Flath. Here today we are with Tony and Neil. Neil is in UK. Tony is in Alberta, somewhere. I am in Silicon Valley, Fremont, California. So, Tony, it's your podcast. Why don't you kickstart it and do your normal stuff?
Awesome. Well, hey guys, this is so great. It's so great for the three of us to get together. We met last year. It was really great to meet face to face at the 2019, right? Certainly enjoyed that, and we had some fun. Apparently, I couldn't find my wallet, but that's a whole other story, right? So really appreciate you guys getting on the show as a couple analysts, having a lot of fun with this podcast. And I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself fully and everything. And each of you, I'd like to, all the guests I have on, I have them go through, where they kind of remember becoming interested in technology, right? Like the first kind of thing, that pops in mind. So, Sarbjeet, since you opened the show up so slick with that radio voice, why don't you kickstart that and then we'll kick it over to Neil.
Silver-tongued devil.
Sure, I can. Yeah, actually, I'm born and raised in Punjab, India, northern India, farming family. Cows, buffaloes, tractors, horses, kind of stuff. I never knew I would be doing this. So after my high school, I went to college, not knowing what I'm doing. I picked math and economics, and after that, I wanted to pursue economics. After my bachelor's and master's, I did in economics, and while I was doing that, my professor told me to improve my degree while I pursue my PhD in economics. And I was improving my degree. During that time, I took a computer course in the evening. And that's where I got into technology. I just loved it. And still, I wanted to finish my economics PhD. But while I was doing that, I was working as a research associate doing socioeconomic research in the capital of our state there. And then I started analyzing data, which was coming on tapes back then from our government and getting secondary data from the field and working with researchers. And I started crunching that stuff. And in 94, I moved to US, left my PhD in between, which I was working on. And rest is history. I started working with AT&T as a programmer in Chicago at McDonald's headquarters and wrote a lot of code there. Then after that, I joined Visa, Commerce One, PeopleSoft, EMC, VMware, all these companies. That's how I
Nice.
got into it. It was
Mm,
just by luck, by chance, and it's has been an amazing ride for the last 25 years.
Nice. Great,
Nearly,
great
that
intro.
was nearly a CV subject, right?
Well, hey, Neil, let's turn it over to you. Love to hear your story, how you got interested in tech.
Well, my story is not as eloquent as Sarbjeet's, but I decided to take my brother's television apart one day when I was about 12 and to see how it worked. And amazingly, I put it back together and it still worked. It was just pretty funky. And I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. I like taking things apart and working out how it works and putting things back together. Could have electrocuted myself, absolutely. With child services like that around now, my mum and dad would have been in prison, getting away with that. But from then on, I thought this is interesting. And my brother told me, "Oh, why don't you do a course in tech?" I went, okay, well, what is there, right? And I started off, moved to London, where my hometown was nowhere near London. It was out in Essex, which has a bit of a stigma against it, but it's not all like that. I'm like that. And then moved to London when I just decided not to go to college in round where I was, and managed to get on to sitting guilds in those days. My God, it wasn't even a degree to start with, and I did that, and then I went on to do a HND, but this is all on like electronics, which we don't use now, right? I was, asked me to build a radio, and I can build a radio for you pretty well, right? But who does that now? And there's no real degree sort of follow on from that, yes. But So anyway, IBM offered me a job, and then I started working with them as a trainee engineer at the day. And yeah, the rest is history. That's where I started when I was 18. My God,
Mhm.
in the bright lights, big city, all by myself, single. What a fantastic time I had for a few years, anyway. And then I went on from different tech positions to senior tech to Olivetti to you name it, right? Knight Ridder Financial, Merrill Lynch, Deutsche, yeah, Thomson Financial, and started my own businesses after that. So really, it all come down to one television.
There
That's a bit
you
odd.
go. Great story, guys. I always like to hear how people kind of got, kick-started into this whole world of technology, and what a ride it's been. It certainly has been. And that's kind of the purpose of this whole podcast, is just this whole emerging tech and what a big change it is. And I know the three of us were talking offline and, talking about some topics and kind of looking at 2020 and where's technology going, and what are kind of three big impacting points, right? And I wanted to start it off today and then get both your analyst perspectives. We heard a lot about blockchain. We heard that blockchain was going to solve everything, that it was going to wake you up in the morning, make you toast, and take care of your whole day, right, and fix all our problems. But I think there definitely is some traction there. And, I'd like both your insights and even just a little more knowledge on what's the next level of blockchain, and what does it look like? Let's kick it started again. Back to you, Sarbjeet.
Yeah, blockchain is one of those sort of slow-moving train. It will have its impact, I think, in the next 5 to 10 years, a lot more than in the short term, right? So there's a saying in tech as like that: we try to overestimate the impact of technology in short term and underestimate in the long term. That is so true, and it's very true in this context. Actually, when we talk about blockchain, it's we call it trust protocol. And the problem right now with the digital technologies is that we are eroding or leaking or bleeding trust as we build more and more systems, right? Because of all the ransomware attacks and security and attacks and cyber espionage by nation states and all that stuff, we need some solution to build trust into systems. I think it addresses that. It will be like a TCP for like what TCP is for internet. It will be,
Embedded, yeah.
similar stuff like behind
Mouthwash.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I that's how I see it, and it is going to be cooked pretty slowly, baked into things, and it won't be like other technologies what we talk about. Not even like cloud or edge or 5G or other things. It's behind the scenes thing, and yeah, exactly.
Right on, right on. That's great insights there. And Neil, like let's have a further discussion. I like where you were going on the apps, and many people don't understand like the whole fundamental of it and how really it's evolving, right?
Yeah, I mean, last year, if you look at last year as any kind of indication of where blockchain is headed, right? Life after crypto. And you know what? I'll start off a little. Well, last year was the year of blockchain finding its feet. You had specialist providers writing applications for the particular microservices that they're running across their blockchain estate. And little by little, you saw a few use cases, right? Whether it's in distribution, manufacturing, healthcare, finance, you'll see them. I've written about a few of them as well, right? But that's a different story in the fact that now, next year, or this year, I'll rephrase it, 2020, you'll see more and more applications being written specifically for blockchain, right? So now you've already got loads out there that I could mention. I mean, Oracle do it. I mean, I've written a couple of articles about their stuff. IBM do it. Everyone's doing it. Google's doing it. Amazon's doing it. Microsoft's doing it. You end up having, if you can write an application that will be like blockchain agnostic, right? So what you end up finding is lots of apps will be written but they'll be able to go on anyone's blockchain, right? So whether you have a universal API out to, I don't know how that's going to work, but you can't just write an application for one particular provider's blockchain, right? You won't be able to, and it won't be sustainable, right? So you're going to have a rise of these applications, especially now. Last year, you had a lot of use cases for it. So now people are now just taking interest. I might try this now, right? And a lot of their in-house development teams will be writing apps now, just so they can use it internally, right? Let alone commercial applications available.
Absolutely, absolutely. I see the same thing. I think some of the real compelling things, and it'll be interesting to see how they roll out, is the ability to do consumer to consumer and to consumer to business, right? Those are two models and are really ways of doing business that haven't been available, widely or really at all, right? So, I mean, I think there's going to be some big disruption. I'll be curious to see what happens with public forums like Facebook. That's a whole other big, huge topic, right? But yeah, no. Those are really great insights. It really is going to be curious to see this next evolution of blockchain. And I think you're right, Sarbjeet. I think it's a slower moving horse on a whole. And I've heard this from other analysts as well. Is the whole like TCP/IP baked right in, right? Where it just becomes protocol based almost in certain reference points. And you guys certainly can talk further than that than I can. So second point that we had chatted about, and again, Sarbjeet, we'll kickstart with you, is we talked, Neil, we were talking like the platform, the year of the platform. I love that. It really, I really think I see that as well. And Sarbjeet, you shed some further light on it from, really Cloud 2.0. And, let's start there, Sarbjeet. Let's start with that, kind of perspective on Cloud 2.0 and year of platform and how you kind of see that rolling out in 2020.
Yeah, as Neil said earlier, like it's the sort of platformization of technologies which will take sort of place in 20s in general, but in 2020, this year particularly, like it's a kind of beginning sort of that whole era, I call it. Cloud 2.0, how I see that is a sort of a convergence of cloud, public cloud, right? And private cloud, we know what that state that is in. We know that it's like wiggly kind of thing, right? Lurking around there. Trying to coexist with the existing stacks, right? And the hyper-converged infrastructure and the edge computing, right? So those conversion of those three things, I see that as Cloud 2.0. And I see edge business models like not looking like public cloud business models, where there's more like a not capex intensive sort of spend there, but more opex intensive, like services being provided by different vendors. Having said that, there will be a lot of on the other flip side, actually, there'll be a lot of industry specific edge devices and edge software stacks that will emerge globally, and with sort of more like nationalist movement going on globally, like China wants to have Chinese vendors serving their market, and every country wants to be close to their own vendors, if you will, or every region at least, right? So that will play some role into diversification of technology in a way that we haven't seen. So that there will be like less like tilt of technology to few vendors only. So it will be like spread across. I mean, and usually, this is what I say: in the bigger systems, things kind of settle down naturally. We kind of fear that few vendors leading and everybody left behind, right? We do fear that. Many industry pundits say that, and analysts and some big brains say that. Like, okay, it's like tilting. Yeah. Like, okay, there are three vendors controlling freaking like 80% of the market, right? I think that will be addressed by the edge a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that too, and I'd be curious of your view of this, and certainly Neil's as well. But like, this whole concept of, of almost like a barbell kind of design, right? Where you've got a lot happening on the edge and a lot of development happening there, a lot of microservices, applications running there at the edge. And then you have your core cloud, right? Where you have your infrastructure and everything behind all your apps, everything else like that. And then more, like less between the two of them, more happening on those two ends. I think you're seeing some evolution to that.
Well,
Tony?
you know what? It's interesting for me because I see the large vendors now, and they have been doing this, funny enough, over the last 3 to 5 years, pushing their own services and technology closer to the client, right? So Microsoft started this 5, 6 years ago with, no, cool, 10 years ago with something called App V, right? I don't know if anyone remembers that. Probably don't anymore, right? But it's pushing the remote execution of the code that was linking back to their data center to the client, right? Because for many reasons. Now, I think now we see it's come round again, right? It's another cycle. You got Google terraforming that I was talking to the Google chap when I was doing a presentation in Poland. He was going, well, look, I can terraform on your premises, right? And then replicate that terraform, right? Out in the cloud. And then more and more of the vendors are pushing management tools and even bare bones part of the application infrastructure to the end client. More and more and more. So they can quick dev, they can quick turnaround code and publish really, really rapidly, right? So you'll find that then I think the bigger vendors are going to merging into more partnerships with, like Sarbjeet was saying, the edge connectivity, other providers, like, with VMware, if you want to go through that side of things, or Microsoft, and you'll end up a multitude of partners and partnerships. But it will get more complicated, and I think it'd be silly to think it won't, because then the whole cycle will happen again, and then all of a sudden there'll be another big vendor. They'll create a management thing for multi-cloud platforms, and you have this cycle of economics. It's like it's crazy. It expands and contracts, and that's what happened this year.
Absolutely, totally see that.
Who am I talking? Just waffle, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually say that technology is like medicine, right? Every pill has a side effect, and all these 5G cloud edge, all these pills have side effects. And as Tony said, yeah, we will have some side effects, and there will be another piece of technology to try to remove those side effects, and then that will have its own side effects, and it continues.
Please, security first, right? I think you're doing a session right away on security. You were mentioning there, Sarbjeet.
Yeah,
security first. Yeah,
university in Canada. Yeah, I'm presenting there on 31st.
Which university in Canada?
Okay.
See, now I got to put the Canadian guys got to put you on the spot, right? Okay, no, you let me know that offline, because I'd be curious. Yeah, I'd be curious.
It's a secret. It's a secret. You will know.
You gotta let the Canadian guy in. I'm good, man.
It's Windsor. It's University of Windsor, right on the Detroit border. I'm going to cross the border on that day. I'm flying into Detroit. Actually,
come out of University of Windsor. Yeah, they've done some great things. They actually did quite a bit, I believe, with open text on search, when open text first was big on search, early days of the internet, right? And they've had so many great success on the content management, but that's a whole other episode.
Yeah, they're working with the auto industry very closely, like standards around the security of the self-driving cars and autonomous vehicles and all that stuff. They can be hijacked by bad actors and stuff like that, and then how they will talk to each other, and how regulators will play a role, and then how the city will control those traffics and all that stuff when nobody's driving in the car. So how will you control the traffic on the city roads and stuff like that? There's a big sort of research in that area of the world, actually, because it happens to be next to Detroit.
Yeah, nice. That's cool. That's very interesting. No, and I'd be curious too, and I know, Neil, I've seen some posts that you've had on this, and I've certainly heard enough from you on this, Sarbjeet, but I'd be curious on your perspective, and this kind of, fans this whole public cloud, multi-cloud, and these big vendors, right? Like you see like Oracle working with Microsoft. You see, I think it was I saw something on IBM Cloud working with one of the other publics, Microsoft, I think, right? And you certainly see some better collaboration, and you know, they're truly becoming like telecoms. They are all working together, right? So I'd
Yeah.
be curious from your perspective, you know, what you're seeing there. I think you're seeing that too from what I've seen putting out there, but love to get your guys' viewpoint.
You know, the telecoms analogy is a very good one, right? But then you've got the cross billing that's going to cause a bit of a problem, right? You know, without any doubt, can you hear me? Right?
Yeah,
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 yeah.
you're
Okay.
good.
Without any doubt, the going forward, there's got to be more partnerships, right? And they're already working on it. And you know, you look at the telecoms analogy, then yeah, that's going to happen, right? How they're going to bill each other for that is a different matter, right? And how they label that up, that's more important of how they deliver it to you, right? So, you know, if I'm a client of Oracle, unbeknown to me, I'm also a client of Microsoft, AWS, Google, for all other bits, right? That unbeknown to me, my contract's with one provider. So, you know, and it's not far away from what we went through with cloud, you know, 1.0, right? It was the whole billing side. How does that work out? And the liability, where does that work out? You know, I think that's a big challenge, but definitely going to happen this year. Absolutely, definitely going to happen.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. It will be interesting. I'm sure you're going to see some in the land of applications. There seems plum for some, you know, for some of the billing kind of coordination things like that. I've seen a little bit on that too as well. No, that's great. Now the third point that I think is really kind of a good segue to where we've been discussing things, right, is really, you know, 2020, we've heard so much about this 5G, right? Like 5G is just going to be ultra fast, and it's going to have all these way out there, you know, capabilities and everything else. But, you know, we know there's challenges. We know there's deployment issues, different topology or different, you know, way it's like really shared out, and just the infrastructure, everything, right? But yet it's certainly something that you can't ignore. And it certainly ties into what we've been talking about on edge development, on IoT deployments, right? Sarbjeet was talking about it with automators of cars, right? Like, how is that going to really interact back in to give better connectivity that's needed there, right? Where milliseconds become life or death, right? So I'd be curious, what are you guys thinking on 5G? What's 2020 going to bring there?
Yeah, I believe that 5G is in sort of hype cycle. It's pretty to the top right now. And I was at CES earlier this week, this month, and 5G was like every vendor is talking about it, like from Samsung to all those little vendors from China with little shops at CES. They have 5G toys and, you know, selling for $5 a pop kind of thing. Like even $2 games. Like I was like, what? Are you sure it's $2? So yeah, it's everywhere, and it's merely, it just pertains to connectivity, faster connectivity, and what that can do is that up to us what we build with it. I think it starts like with, you know, VR, gaming, and all that stuff, and then it's going to permeate itself. I don't know if it's the right word or not. Like it's going to get into the like self-driving cars and industrial IoT, where you need like high reliability of connection and at higher speed. It's going to get into those use cases. It is one of those things where we see a lot of promise in the short term, but I think it will be realized in the long term. It will be like 5 to 7 years from now. We will be like having different type of networks and different kind of connectivity. But again, building on top of it, it's the little hard part. Having that technology underlying, it's there already. We know that some cities have already rolled that out in US, and in South Korea, they have the whole country has rolled that out already. So there's some disparity, by the way. It will be regional disparity. Like rural areas will get it later than the metro areas. It's nature of business,
Yeah.
right? I think we're good with 4G for most of the use cases, but 5G will enable new use cases. And that's how I see it.
Yeah, I'm seeing that from a telecom side for sure as well, right? Like, certainly in my day to day, we're all waiting, wanting to see on the wireless side where does that IoT play in and what is it going to look like, right? And how's 5G going to tie into that? So some exciting things certainly to see in the horizon. What about yourself, Neil?
Well, you know what? When you talk about 5G, I mean, I remember the times in the UK where they were trialing um, broadband access points draped around sheep's necks, right? Creating honestly, and we're only talking 4 or 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And they honestly trialed this out. Obviously, it didn't work that well, right? Without the sheepdog around. But when we look, it's all transactional based. So we really got to think about what, this sounds like a plug for somebody's technology, so I won't use the name, right? But you've got to talk really, really fast I/O, right, at the edge of your network.
Yeah.
Now, I can only think of one platform that already exists today that can perform that securely. They've just released their passport of data encryption services right at the edge as well. That if they were smart enough, they would start pitching their product set to a cater for the myriad of IoT devices that are just going to be floating around and need processing rapidly, and they'll all be linked to some kind of blockchain environment, right?
Ultimately, yeah.
Way, shape, or form. That's where it's going to go massive, right? But the problem is there's regional nuances that cause a hell of a lot of problem to be widespread at a mass adoption, right? So, it will trickle through this year, right? It will, but I would say 2021 it's going to be massive.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to have this race to set the infrastructure to cater for it up properly, and they're doing it now. And I can't see it being massive until 2021.
Absolutely. And, I see that as well. I think that this, 2020 is leading really out as a fundamental and a bigger shift. I think in the next really 3 years, we're going to see big leaps, right? And, what are you guys seeing out there? What's your view of that? Like, where are we going to see big leaps? Like, obviously AI is building up more momentum, right? We're seeing more capabilities, more deep learning, more machine learning, analytic capabilities. Where are you guys seeing things? Sarbjeet, like when you see things coming up in the, as this year going forward, we've seen a lot of noise around, embracing this technology, right? But then we also see way more capabilities coming out with it, way more edge enabled, way more analytic capability. First of all, where are you seeing it kind of rolling out? How are you seeing it rolling out? And what's working and not working?
I think the spread of data or the democratization of data is key for us to move forward to leverage what we have built, infrastructure, applications, and everything around it, right? With that comes like real-time analytics, ability for us to analyze the data as it comes in, not like after the fact. And besides that, using that data for sort of predictive, sort of crime prediction, healthcare breakouts, and all that stuff, right? Those cases are being sort of played with. There are POCs being done by healthcare companies and by police stations and police departments in the bigger metro areas, where they are using AI and ML to predict what's going to happen next, right? Not only what's happening right now. So it's a real-time analytics plus ability to for us to use machines to predict what's going to happen in the next 24 hours or next 6 months and all that stuff, right? We know that how we do that right now, but it's very slow right now. We cannot take into account all the data or the real-time data or the multiple streams of data. So I think that's where a lot of money is going. Actually, the one thing I actually have learned here living in the valley for the last 25 years is like if you want to know where the future is, follow the money, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can easily see where the money is going right now, and that's going into like into these technologies, real-time analytics, edge, faster connections. It's always like faster, cheaper, better, faster,
Yeah.
cheaper, better. But that's what we're chasing all the time. And then sometimes hardware is ahead of us, and sometimes applications get ahead of hardware. So like it's always zigzag kind of thing. And I think software has to catch up in many ways with quantum computing coming into the picture. I was talking to IBM folks at CES, and they told me that they have like 16 computers publicly available. When I say publicly, they're public cloud, and 10 of those are being used by big companies to write the code against. So people are writing code against those things, right? So that means applications are being cooked for quantum, and those are different type of applications than what we usually cook for our binary systems, right? Um, I I think next 10 years are going to be amazing. That's how I see it. A lot of promise, a lot of shakeups and all that stuff. Some companies will be left behind, some new ones will emerge, right? And I, my 2 cents to the youngsters is that who are entering the field is like keep your options open. Don't tie your don't bet all your sort of coins at this existing stuff, and try to look at for the newer stuff coming down the pike and learn that and play with it. Don't don't hesitate to jump in and, for example, write some code for quantum computing. Like just play with it. Just write the hello world of quantum computer, right? Just it's available to you. Actually, anybody can get to it right now. Uh, I'm not paid by anybody here, IBM or anybody. Like
Yeah.
if Oracle gives you that
Get
stuff, or
some sponsor this
use it.
webcast, Tony.
Yeah,
Tony,
we'll take them. Hey, any big sponsors out there, we'll take them.
Tony, what do you see? What do you think?
I think you're bang on. I think that you are starting to see some certain points where there's an uncomfortable side where people are uncomfortable with machines making decisions, right?
Yeah.
Where you have to get comfortable with this whole notion to really embrace the next rollout of technology. You have to start both enabling it and being open to letting it take and make decisions for you, automated, right? So, and I know there's enough of that happening, but I think you're going to see even a bigger push with that. I do know that what I've seen out there is when you're embracing all this emerging technology and rolling out data science initiatives, artificial intelligence initiatives, it's really key to look at what's the value you're trying to drive behind it and not just run after technology for the sake of running after technology. And also, too, you need to really expand the group of individuals that's working on it. This is not an IT problem. This is an everybody problem, right? In order to really leverage and grab on to the wave of opportunity comes with this wave of change is I think you really do have to take a hammer to some things and smash them, right? And really relook at how that's going to work, and even how some of the roles today are really defined, right? I think there's blurry lines there.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about yourself, Neil?
Well, just funny enough, today was the launch of the first driverless pod trials in London, in the UK.
Nice.
Bristol, funny enough.
Nice.
And they're like, well, they're driverless pods, right? You can fit about 6 people in it uncomfortably, and I thought, wow, okay, there's a driving around Bristol, and you had pictures of people thinking, what the hell is that, and following it. But it was there's about 12 of them being released, and it's great, modernisation in one of the most alternative council boroughs we have in the UK. I mean, it's great if you want to travel at 10 miles an hour.
Yeah, right? I know we have them here too. Yeah, they're pretty slow, but it's neat. It's neat they're happening. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. But yeah, so what do I really think is going to happen? Past 5 years is very hard to predict, but you know what? I always say, look at the environment we're in today, and that will shape our future very easily. You can get that from, think of it, big data analysis for an analyst to read, right? They're reading everything. And then once you see all the trends in all the places, you can predict. You don't need an AI algorithm to do that, right? And I think I've seen a lot of bad press around security. Interestingly, lots of promotions on VPNs on commercial television, right? You've got to secure your internet with VPN, right? Which I'm guessing is probably right. Everyone should. My kids had a very cold Christmas this year because the naughty elves came and stole all their Christmas presents. Very naughty time for elves. The buggers even got onto my laptop, cracked my password.
Really?
On naughty elves websites, right? Who would have thought?
Damn naughty elves. Yeah.
Who'd have thought elves were that popular? Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Isn't that the truth? Well, hey guys, this has been a fantastic chat. Really enjoyed it, and certainly have to stay engaged. It's so great to get together with you guys and catch up, right? So just closing out things, what do each you got going on? What are you working on? What are you getting out to? I know you guys are out at events, and I'm always seeing a good feed from you guys. What do you got cooking? Sarbjeet?
I'm going to that University of Windsor, and then after that, there are a couple of events in San Fran. I'm going to Zoom one, like we're using Zoom right now, to meet. Right? So they have their first time conference, big one here in San Jose. I'm invited there. The couple in San Francisco, I'm invited there. There's one on SaaS applications, which I'm always intrigued about because I wrote a lot of code in my 25 years of career, and still I'm very passionate about SaaS, software as a service. And yeah, I'm going to those few events here. Yeah, besides that, there's not any big event coming.
Cool. Well, and I'll certainly share where people can get a hold of you online.
Sure.
You've got your YouTube channel. I enjoy your vlog. I try to get watching it when I go see it and get reminders on it. So keep those up. And Neil, I know you got a ton of stuff going on. What do you got going on?
Yeah, I got some stuff with IBM cooking at their global launch for a new storage stuff. I can't tell you any more than that at the moment. But that's coming up in February.
Cool.
February the 10th, I think, or the 11th. Can't remember. Maybe the 11th. Then we've got the whole Oracle Open World London, which is quite cool. So they asked me to pop along to that and talk a bit. Interesting enough, I've got a private dinner with a group of people regarding the future of tech and VCs. Funny enough, so that'd be quite interesting.
Yeah.
A very nice restaurant in Mayfair. Thank you very much, chaps, if you ever get to listen to this. We've got the normal cloud gigs, cloud DevOps world, and all of that malarkey. The IBM Think coming up in May, I think it is. It's in San Fran, so we can all have a beer.
There you go.
Wallet. Tony, don't forget, man.
Bring your wallet.
Yeah, I better not changing my jacket, right? Yeah, that's right.
Last time you forgot your wallet, Sarbjeet and I had to have water.
I was wondering when the wallet was going to come up, and I'm surprised it went this long. So good for you on that.
You teed it up nicely for me.
There you go. Nice. Well, hey guys, this has been fantastic, and thanks everyone. That's been another edition of the Wave of Change. Stay tuned for more. Bye now.
Thank you.